Archie rushed into the reception, his small chest rising and falling quickly. His eyes darted around as if the walls themselves held danger. He stopped in front of Miss Ada, his voice trembling but urgent. "Ma, please listen to me," he said, almost in a whisper. "Something is not right. I saw a package brought in just now. The men looked afraid, and the box had no name. I think it is dangerous." Welcome to Afro Tales TV, your home for rich, exciting, and inspiring stories from around the world. Today's story will touch your heart and keep you hooked till the very end. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our amazing stories. In the bustling city of Ibadan, Nigeria, where yellow taxis honked impatiently on the crowded Dugby roads, and the aroma of roasted corn filled the air, there lived a 10-year-old boy named Archie Adeyemi. Archie was no ordinary boy. He was small for his age, with a lean frame, bright, curious eyes, and a smile that could melt even the hardest heart. But behind that smile was a story of hardship. Life had not been kind to Archie, yet he carried himself with a quiet dignity that made people pause and look at him twice. He lived with his widowed mother, Mama Tola, in a small, crumbling one-room apartment at Oje. The zinc roof leaked whenever it rained, and the cracked walls seemed ready to collapse at the next heavy storm. They had no proper bed, only a thin mattress on the floor that Archie shared with his mother. Despite their poverty, Mama Tola tried to give her son a sense of hope. She worked long hours frying akara by the roadside, her hands stained with oil, her face often tired, but her spirit unbroken. Archie often sat beside her stall in the mornings before school, helping to fan the charcoal fire or pack the bean cakes into paper for customers. But school was no longer certain. Since his father's death 3 years earlier, their financial struggles had worsened. Archie sometimes missed classes because they couldn't pay the fees. He loved learning, especially English, and he dreamed of becoming someone important one day, someone whose words could change lives. For now, though, his reality was different. To help his mother, Archie had taken up a small job as a delivery boy for a local provision store owned by Uncle Del, a kind but shrewd man. Uncle Del had a small shop in Bodija, selling everything from milk and bread to canned food and noodles. Archie's job was simple: deliver items to customers around the city. Sometimes it was groceries to a banker's wife in Agodi. Other times it was cartons of drinks to a shop in Makola. He carried the smaller loads in his arms, while for larger deliveries he balanced them carefully on his head. At just 10, Archie had already learned the art of navigating Ibadan's busy streets, dodging Okadas that sped recklessly, squeezing between Danfo buses, and bargaining with taxi drivers when needed. His small body moved quickly, his eyes alert, and his tongue sharp when he needed to defend himself. "Delivery boy," the drivers often teased when he ran past them. "Yes, sir," Archie would reply with a cheeky grin. "But one day I will deliver speeches on TV, not bread and sugar." The men would laugh, shaking their heads. "This small boy, your mouth is too sharp." Archie's confidence amused people, but it also came from a place of survival. He knew if he did not believe in himself, no one else would. Each evening, when Archie returned from his deliveries, he would hand over his earnings to his mother. Sometimes it was only a few hundred naira, sometimes more, depending on tips from customers. "Mama, count it," he would say proudly, stretching out the crumpled notes. "I worked hard today." His mother would smile faintly, her eyes tired but full of love. "Archie, you are my strength. God will bless you." Then they would sit together and eat whatever they could afford, usually ibe with watery okra soup or rice cooked with palm oil and pepper. It wasn't much, but they were grateful. At night, when the power supply failed as it often did, Archie would sit by the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, reading old textbooks borrowed from neighbors. His mother would watch him, shaking her head in wonder. "You are different, Archie," she often said. "You speak like a grown man, not a child." "That is because I am preparing for my future," he would reply with a smile. "One day, Mama, we will leave this room. We will live in a house that does not leak when it rains." Her eyes would glisten, but she always nodded. Amen. One of the places Archie delivered to regularly was Ogunlola Holdings, a massive company located near the busy Jericho axis of Ibadan. The building stood tall with glass walls and a sprawling compound guarded by stern-faced security men. It was owned by Chief Adewale Ogunlola, one of the richest men in the city, a man known for his business empire in oil and real estate. Archie loved delivering there, not because of the heavy loads he sometimes carried, but because of the sheer grandeur of the place. To him, it was like stepping into another world. The air-conditioned offices, the shiny tiled floors, the neatly dressed staff, all of it made him dream of a life beyond poverty. Whenever he entered the building, the receptionists would smile at him. "Archie, you are here again?" "Yes, Ma," he would say, bowing politely. "I brought the supplies from Uncle Deal's shop." He often lingered a little longer than necessary, taking in the sight of men in suits and women in elegant dresses walking briskly through the corridors. He imagined himself in their shoes one day. One day, he thought each time, "I will not come here carrying baskets. I will come wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase." Despite his dreams, Archie never forgot his reality. He still woke up in a leaking room. He still fetched water from a broken tap down the street. He still ran barefoot sometimes when his slippers gave way. But even in his struggles, he had something many children lacked: hope. One afternoon, after finishing his deliveries, Archie sat with his friend Kunle, another boy from the neighborhood. Kunle was older, about 14, and often mocked Archie's optimism. "Archie," Kunle said, chewing roasted ground nuts, "you work too hard. Delivery here, delivery there. For what? You think you will suddenly become rich?" Archie smiled patiently. "I do not know how it will happen, Kunle, but I know I was not born to remain in poverty. Something will change one day." Kunle laughed, shaking his head. "You dream too much." "Better to dream," Archie replied firmly, "than to sit and do nothing." It was this mindset that set Archie apart, a belief that life could change, that one small act could open a door to greatness. Little did he know, his moment was coming sooner than he expected. Though Archie was only a boy, his sharpness often made him notice things others ignored. When he delivered to Ogunlola Holdings, he observed not just the beauty of the company, but also the patterns of its daily life, the flow of workers, the rhythm of deliveries, the watchful eyes of the security men. Sometimes he saw things that made him pause: a stranger loitering near the gate too long, a package delivered without a label, a staff member looking unusually nervous. He never spoke much about these things, but his mind always recorded them. One particular afternoon, as he left the company after dropping supplies, he noticed a man slip through the gate, carrying a large box wrapped in plain brown paper. The man was not dressed like staff. His clothes were dusty, his face half hidden under a cap. The security guard barely glanced at him before letting him through. Archie slowed his steps, watching. Something about the scene unsettled him, but he shook his head and walked away. He was only a boy. Who would listen to him if he said anything? Yet deep inside, a seed of suspicion had been planted. That night, as Archie lay on the thin mattress beside his mother, he thought again of the strange man with the brown box. He could not explain why it stayed in his mind, but he felt it was important. "Mama," he said softly, "do you think even children can notice things that adults miss?" His mother, half asleep, murmured, "Yes, Archie. Sometimes God gives children sharper eyes than grown people." Archie nodded to himself. He did not yet know that those sharp eyes would soon make him the unlikely savior of hundreds of lives. If Ibadan was a crown, then Ogunlola Holdings was one of its brightest jewels. The company was more than just a building with glass walls. It was a hub of commerce, a place that carried both wealth and influence. The structure stood proudly at Jericho, its tall gates polished daily, the Nigerian flag fluttering high above the compound. From the main road, one could see the gleaming glass facade reflecting the busy city like a mirror. Inside, the compound stretched wide, with manicured lawns, neat parking lots, and fountains that sparkled under the sunlight. It was owned by Chief Adewale Ogunlola, a man who was not only wealthy but respected across Oyo State. He had built his empire from scratch, starting as a small trader in petroleum products, before expanding into real estate, transportation, and importation. Newspapers often carried headlines like Chief Ogunlola donates to schools, or business mogul sponsors free health care in Ibadan. To the ordinary people of Ibadan, he was a figure of hope. To his workers, he was both a boss and a provider. Over 500 people worked at Ogunlola Holdings: engineers, accountants, marketers, security officers, drivers, cleaners. It was a place where many families found their daily bread. Archie, the delivery boy, knew this better than most. Archie had become a familiar figure at the company. Every week, he carried crates of drinks, cartons of noodles, or boxes of stationery to the reception. Though he was only 10, his presence was noticed. His small frame moving through the wide glass doors had become a part of the company's rhythm. Archie, our delivery boy, the receptionist, Miss Ada, often greeted him warmly. "Yes, Ma," Archie would reply politely, setting down his load. "Good afternoon, Ma. I hope your day is fine." Miss Ada would smile. "You speak like a gentleman, Archie. One day you will not carry boxes. You will own an office here." Archie's face would light up. "That is my dream, Ma. I will not be a delivery boy forever." The staff liked him because he was respectful, yet sharp. Unlike many boys his age who muttered shyly, Archie spoke with confidence. Sometimes when he lingered, he would ask questions that made even the adults pause. "Sir," he once asked a manager at the entrance, "how do people become directors in a company like this? Is it because they are rich or because they worked hard?" The man, taken aback, had smiled. "Both, Archie. Some are born rich, but many worked their way up. Education, discipline, and opportunities make the difference." Archie stored those words in his heart. Education, discipline, opportunities. They became his personal chant whenever he walked through the gates. At night, after a long day of running errands, Archie often dreamed about Ogunlola Holdings. He imagined himself wearing a neat suit, walking into the company with a briefcase. He saw himself giving orders, signing documents, and having people call him Sir. Once he told his mother about these dreams. "Mama, when I see the men in suits at the company, I imagine myself being like them. I do not want to carry loads all my life." His mother, who was stirring a pot of ogi on their kerosene stove, looked at him tenderly. "My son, God sees your heart. Your words will not die. If you continue to work hard and keep your honesty, one day your life will change." Archie smiled faintly, but deep inside, he wondered if it was really possible. Poverty was like a shadow that followed them everywhere. Could one boy truly break free? He did not know then that his chance was coming. It was during one of his visits that Archie began to notice subtle changes around the company. At first, it was the strangers. Men he had never seen before began loitering near the gate. They were not dressed like staff, nor did they behave like customers. They stood around smoking cigarettes, whispering to one another, and watching the compound with keen eyes. Archie, being naturally observant, noticed them immediately. "Why are those men always there?" he asked one of the drivers one afternoon. "Which men?" the driver replied, distracted. The ones by the gate. They don't look like staff, Archie said. The driver shrugged. Maybe they are waiting for someone. Don't worry yourself, small boy. But Archie did worry. His instincts told him something was not right. The second thing he noticed was the packages. Deliveries were normal at the company. Trucks of goods, parcels, office supplies. But lately, strange packages began to arrive. They were often wrapped in brown paper with no labels or names. The security men accepted them without question, and they disappeared quickly into the building. One day, Archie saw one of these packages being carried inside. It was unusually heavy, and the man holding it looked nervous. Archie slowed his steps, staring at it. "Archie, hurry up!" Miss Ada called from the reception. "Do not waste time." "Yes, Ma," Archie said quickly, though his mind lingered on the package. That evening, Archie sat on the floor of his mother's shop, peeling beans for Akara, but his thoughts were far away. "Mama," he said suddenly, "why do bad people hide things?" His mother glanced at him curiously. "What kind of question is that?" "Sometimes when people carry packages, they look afraid, as if they are hiding something," Archie explained carefully. "Why is that?" Mama Tola stirred the beans and sighed. "Because what they carry is not good. Sometimes it is stolen, sometimes it is dangerous." She looked at him seriously. "Archie, when you see such things, keep your distance. Danger does not always announce itself with noise." Archie nodded slowly, but deep inside, he wondered if keeping his distance was enough. What if danger entered a place full of people? A week later, Archie's suspicions deepened. He was waiting outside the company, holding a small box of sugar and tea for delivery, when he overheard two of the strange men whispering near the wall. "The time is close," one said in Yoruba. "We only need patience." "Yes," the other replied. "Once it is inside, there will be no turning back." Archie's skin prickled. Inside? No turning back? He wanted to ask questions, but he knew better than to draw attention. He lowered his head and walked quickly past them. That night, he could hardly sleep. The words kept echoing in his mind. Once it is inside, there will be no turning back. Though he was only 10, Archie began to connect the dots. The strange men, the brown packages, the whispers, they all pointed to something hidden, something dangerous. But he said nothing. Who would listen to a delivery boy? If he spoke to the security guards, they might laugh at him. If he told the staff, they might think he was imagining things. Still, he could not shake off the feeling that something was coming. One evening, he sat outside his house, watching the Ibadan skyline glow with orange as the sun set. He whispered to himself, "If danger comes, I must be brave. Even if I am a child, I must say something." It was a promise he did not fully understand, but one he would soon have to keep. It was a bright Tuesday morning in Ibadan. The air was heavy with the smell of roasted corn and fried akara sold by women at Makola roundabout. Buses honked impatiently, conductors shouted at the top of their lungs, and motorcycles weaved recklessly between cars. Archie balanced a carton of milk and sugar carefully on his head as he made his way toward Ogunlola Holdings. To anyone watching, it was just another delivery day for the 10-year-old boy. But inside his chest, his heart was unsettled. For weeks, he had noticed strange things around the company. The men who loitered by the gate, the unmarked brown packages, the whispers he once overheard. He had said nothing, but the unease grew heavier each day. "Mama says children see things adults miss," he murmured under his breath as he approached the tall glass building. "But what will they do if I speak? They will laugh at me." Still, his small feet carried him forward. Archie reached the company compound just as a white van pulled up by the side gate. Unlike the usual delivery trucks with bold company names painted on them, This one had no markings. The paint was dull, and the license plate was partly covered in dust. Two men stepped out. They were not the regular delivery drivers Archie had grown used to seeing. These men looked rough, one tall and thin, the other short and stocky, both wearing cheap caps pulled low over their faces. From the back of the van, they dragged out a large box wrapped in brown paper. It was tightly sealed with tape, and there was no label, no address, no company logo. Archie's eyes fixed on it instantly. His heart gave a small jolt. Another strange package. The men whispered to each other, glancing around nervously. One of them adjusted his cap, avoiding eye contact with the security guard, who barely looked at the box before waving them through. Archie stopped in his tracks, the carton still on his head. His mouth went dry. Something about the package screamed danger. It was larger than the others he had seen before, and the men's behavior was suspicious. Archie delivered his carton of milk to the reception, but his mind was far away. As Miss Ada signed the delivery form, he kept glancing toward the corridor where the men had carried the brown box. "Archie, what is it?" Miss Ada asked kindly. He shook his head quickly. "Nothing, Ma." But it wasn't nothing. His chest felt heavy, as if a stone had been placed on his heart. As he left the building, he sat on the company's front steps, pretending to tie his slippers. His thoughts raced. Should I say something? But who will believe me? I am only a boy. They will laugh and chase me away. What if I am wrong? What if it is only office supplies? He bit his lip hard. Another thought came. But what if I am right? What if that box is dangerous? What if something happens and I keep quiet? Fear and courage wrestled inside him. His legs wanted to carry him away, to forget about it. But his conscience refused to let him go. "No," he whispered fiercely to himself. "I cannot keep quiet." Archie stood and approached one of the security guards at the gate, a tall man with a stern face. "Good morning, sir," Archie greeted politely. The guard glanced at him. "Archie, how are you? You came early today." "Yes, sir," Archie replied, shifting nervously. He lowered his voice. "Sir, please, I think something is not right." The guard frowned. "What do you mean?" "I saw a van bring a big box just now. It was strange. The men looked afraid, and the box had no name or label. Sir, I think—" His voice faltered. "I think it might be dangerous." The guard stared at him, then burst out laughing. "Archie, you watch too many films. Dangerous? It is only delivery. You are a small boy. Don't let your imagination run wild." Archie's cheeks burned with frustration. "But sir, please—" "Go home, Archie," the guard said, waving him off. "Don't disturb me with stories." Archie walked away slowly, his fists clenched. His eyes stung, but not from tears, from anger. "Why will no one listen?" he thought bitterly. "Why does being a child mean my words don't matter?" Archie did not give up. He knew he could not. The image of the box burned in his mind like fire. He remembered his mother's words. Danger does not always announce itself with noise.